Alrighty, you guys wanted a long form video on how these shells are made. So the printed pieces are the casing, the projectile, and the metal pieces. We have an M14 bolt, the corresponding nut, and on this bolt it is drilled out to 3/8 to accept, of course, your 38 blank, and drilled and tapped to accept a M8 grub screw. And along the sides here we have I believe these are 1/8 inch vent holes, and in there, I haven't pulled it out yet, but we have, it's just a piece of pop can wrapped up to act as what's called a burst disc. So we put that in here, we take our punch, we can slowly and carefully push it all the way up to the front, and we want it to block these holes. Just like that. Make sure it's seated in there correctly. And this is a piece of brass pipe. Where's my calipers? I'll get you a measurement. This is about 1.5 inch. I'll leave a link in the description. 1.5 inch outside diameter. 17 gauge, just brass pipe. I'll leave a link in the description on where you can get this. You can get it on Amazon. Cut it down to size, and you scuff up the outside of your shell, scuff up the inside of the brass, and these two pieces are epoxied together. Use a good quality epoxy, so the hull itself, that is complete. This is a little different. Of course, you'll have to drill out your lip there for your chamber, but 3/8 hole all the way, not all the way through, but partially through, and your hole for your grub screw. Put your grub screw on, just like that. Should behave real nicely because it's freshly tapped. So how these work is your 38 blank. This is full load, 38 7 grains, I believe. You just push it in there. Sometimes you'll need a little tappy tap, so use the plastic end of your small mallet and just tap it in there so it sits flush. So how these work, the burst disc is required because these are what's called a high-low. The high pressure is in the chamber here, and it builds up to about 2,000 psi before the aluminum gives way and bursts. And then after that, it's low pressure that pushes the round. And yes, these are rifled. We have looks like a polygonal rifling here. So yeah, the blank fires, builds up about 2,000 psi, bursts the aluminum disc, and all the gases escape, pushing your projectile. And so now we put that in there, put our nut on the top, and you'll need a pair of needle nose pliers. Grab a hold of it. And of course, it's only when I do it on camera I screw up. Screw it down, all the way down, nice and tight. Again, it should go on pretty easily. There are 3D printed jigs that you can use to make these chambers. It is required to use grade 8.8 metric bolts for the hardness. If you use a standard, soft material, it will crack and explode. So at least grade 8.8. I believe one of these, I forget which shell it is, but one of these is grade 10. 10.3, I believe it is in metric. But that was a bad idea because they were a pain to drill. So 8.8, perfectly fine. So we take our projectile, put it on there, and we have ourselves a completed shell. Of course, I haven't epoxied this, but it is required. You have to epoxy the brass onto the plastic. But there's another type of these shells that's really fascinating, and we'll get to that here in a second. And here we go. These are these chambers are machined by a factory, and this is a type of shell. I think it's the M781 non-rifled shell. So the projectile just fits right over, right inside the brass hull. It's the same brass pipe, but these are non-rifled. But the chamber on the inside, I can't get it up because it's just spinning in the shell. But same principle. Drilled for 38 special, perfectly chambered, sits nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. Perfectly flat. But yeah, these are made from a factory. But these still require the burst disc, of course, because it's a high-low round. But these are a lot easier to obtain. These run about $20, I think. I'll leave a link in the description to Launcher Pope. Mathematics is the designer of what's called these milk rounds, MILC. But it's essentially just the bolt chamber, just precision machined. But yeah, these I like using because I don't have to drill a hardened bolt. But if you have a lathe, you can make these one after another. These are super easy if you have a lathe. You can also make them in a drill press, which is what I do. I don't recommend it. These chambers are great. If I can find... Here we go. Oh, nope, those are star bits. I can't find it. I was gonna say, if I can find my Allen wrench, I can pull that plug out there and show you it's the same. Yeah, essentially the printed plastic hull here with the lip, it's only about that thick. Then you take your pipe, glue it over there, put your chamber in, and you're good to go. These are really great. I love these. But yeah, that's how these are made. Very, very, very fun. And they also include on the website, you can get 40 millimeter shells. These are just 37 millimeters, so they're signaling purposes only. The 40 millimeter, if you file a Form 1, get it approved, you can have yourself a 40 millimeter grenade launcher and have ammunition for it, thankfully, with the same high-low rounds. But yeah, these are super cool. Really like playing with them. And yeah, thank you for watching.